Yo guys, welcome back to Techno Games. In this video, we will build the cheapest computer capable of running GTA 5 and some other games for around $150. But to be clear, at this price, it's impossible to build a PC unless we turn to the used market. And speaking of used parts, I managed to get an i3-2100 for $15. Yes, it's a second generation, but it's acceptable for light gaming. It has 2 cores and 4 threads with a 32 nanometers manufacturing process. Yes, 32 nanometers. This processor was released 14 years ago. Compared to today's processors, it's dead, but for a processor of this age, it can be useful in some scenarios. As for the motherboard, I went with an HP motherboard. It's an old board without any features but will do the job, knowing that this processor is power efficient. I was able to get it with the cooler for $25. For storage, I went with a 256 gigabytes SSD, which will be enough to install the system and some other games. For the RAM, I went with 16 gigabytes from Team Group DDR3 at 1333 megahertz, and I got them for $30. As for the power supply, this build doesn't consume much power. I could have gone with any old power supply that would do the job, but I chose this power supply from Game Master with 400 watts and 80 plus gold efficiency, which is more than enough for this build, and its price is $25. Now to the most anticipated part, the most important part of the build, the graphics card. I will use a graphics card as old as the processor, 14 years old, the Nvidia Quadro 2000D. It's the same card from the previous video. Although it's an old card, it will perform well in this build, and its price is $15. In fact, it's not worth more than that. As for the case, any metal box will do the job because these parts don't need strong airflow, so choose any case. I went with this case from Zigmatech for $30, bringing the total price to $150. Now let's move on to the performance test. In The Witcher 3, the performance was very bad, around 11 FPS on low settings. In GTA 5, the performance was good, between 35 to 40 FPS at 1080p and normal settings. This is excellent performance for a build like this.
Blame the pricks who called you out here! Press forward! Come on, guys! Get out of the way!
In Resident Evil 7, on low settings and 0.8 resolution scale, I was able to get around 30 FPS, an acceptable but not good experience. In CS2, the performance was struggling due to the weak processor, between 25 FPS and sometimes reaching 30, knowing that the card is capable of running the game at around 40 FPS, but there was a bottleneck from the processor. Moving on to Brawlhalla, although it is a lightweight game, I wanted to try it since we have an old graphics card, and as you can see, the experience was excellent. Since it is an old and economical card, I decided to try PUBG Mobile on the Game Loop emulator, and the experience was good. The 90 FPS option was available in the settings, and the game ran without any drops or frame rate decreases. Well, in conclusion, if you want a cheap PC just to run GTA 5, this will do the job, but for any other game, I do not recommend it, knowing that I could have used a cheaper power supply and case, and I could have also gone with 8 gigabytes of RAM, which wouldn't affect performance but would significantly reduce the price.
Like and subscribe.